We've almost reached the halfway mark. I started 7 weeks before Christmas with the goal of getting my old Tahoe and boat back in good working order before the new year gets here. And here we are 4 weeks before Christmas, almost halfway. I've made progress, not nearly as much as I'd liked. And now I've hit that point that we run into in almost any big project where it starts getting tempting to take shortcuts. But I'm not going to, because it's the shortcuts that got me in the position I'm in now. It isn't that I haven't made progress. I have. It's been a lot slower going than I'd hoped. And part of that's just because I added to what I was doing. My original plan was just get in there, pull this intake manifold out, change the gasket, put it back. And then I decided to do some other stuff that it needed to have been done. And when I'm finished, I'll be glad I did it. I went ahead and pulled one of the valve covers, got it cleaned up, new valve cover gasket on it, pulled the valley cover off, and then changed the knock sensor and grommets on it, and new gasket for it, got it put back in. I still got to pull the other valve cover off, and right now I'm getting set up here to clean up these fuel injectors and check them out real good. We'll just say they're looking a little rough. Just a little bit of carbon on them. Yeah, so it's stuff that needed to have been done, and that's what we can run into on any vehicle. But it takes time and patience to do a project, especially when we start adding to the scope of the work we have to do. And while I have plenty of patience, I'm severely lacking in time. So here we are 3 weeks into this. I'm trying to get it done with only 4 weeks left. And I'm probably going to be another week wrapping this up. And that's assuming good weather. And that's one of my delays, is just the weather's been spotty. I'm working on this outside. And I get home in the evenings, I've got maybe 30 minutes of daylight left, and that doesn't leave much time. And so here I am on Saturdays working on it when I can, Sunday afternoon, and it's not enough time to do this. And it's not that any of this is that difficult or takes all that much time. I just don't have much. All right, so this is where it gets tempting to say, okay, maybe I don't do that other valve cover. Maybe I just put those gaskets back on this, slap this in, and put it back together and be done with it. And come back and clean the fuel injectors later. Problem is, when we start putting stuff off like that, yeah, I can come back and clean these later when I have time. I don't have time now. Well, I'm not going to have time later. I know I'm not. I know if I don't do this now, it's not going to get done. And a lot of my issues that I'm having as far as time and so forth was because I didn't make the right decisions when I was a young person and took too many shortcuts then. There is no one way to live life, and we all have to figure out what works for us. With that said, I can look back on my own life and I can see some pretty big mistakes I made and things I wish I'd have done differently. A great example is, I wish now, starting out as a young man, that I'd have put back every dime I could had and been saving up for that house out in the country with the shop in the back. It's what I've always wanted, still want, still haven't got it. I'm working on it though. All right, with that shop in the back, I'd have been working on my vehicle in a shop where it was warm, it wasn't raining. All right, that would have made me more productive. I would have been able to do this a lot quicker. Having worked in a shop before, I tell you, there's a world of difference between working in a shop versus working out under a shade tree, hence the term shade tree mechanic. All right, and it isn't just the weather, it's being able to find stuff you drop when you drop it, being able to just pull out floor jacks. You just work that much more efficiently in a shop when doing things like this. All right, so there's nothing wrong with working on a vehicle under a shade tree just like I'm doing now, and like many of you have done in the past. But looking back, I think there's certain fundamentals we need to have in place in our lives. And not all of us. I mean, a lot of you live in cities and it isn't practical to have a big shop in the back to work on stuff. Well, hey, if you've got a job In the city where you're making the kind of money that you don't need to work on this type of stuff and to save money, that's a good route to go for some of you. That just isn't a good route for me personally, because I do enjoy this. I enjoy tearing things apart, seeing how they work, improving them, fixing them, putting it back together. It's just I really wish I'd have started off early with that shop, paying for it. Instead, as a young man, I was out hunting and fishing all the time. All right, now I loved it. I enjoyed every minute of it, learned a lot, spent a lot of time on the water. But if I'd have put in that time as a young man working and saving for that shop and getting it paid for, then getting the truck, and then getting the boat, I wouldn't be out here at my age right now still doing this, working on this under a shade tree. That's what I mean by those priorities. And when we put certain things in place in our lives, just like that shop I mentioned, when we work more efficiently, we get just that much more done. Great example is just being organized. Okay, a lot of us don't have the room for the stuff we have. Right? When you have a lot of stuff, you need room for that stuff just to keep it organized. How much more efficiently can we work when we know where our tools are? They have an assigned place and they're in their place. That just makes us so much more efficient versus pulling out that big toolbox and just digging through there and trying to dig out stuff. Which, hey, that's what I'm doing right now with my electrical stuff, because I don't have a place for it. And because I'm working on my old Tahoe out in the driveway, I've got a bag just like this that I'm carrying back and forth with tools out to it. That shop, you got your toolbox right beside you. All right, you got that floor jack, you work so much more efficiently. Well, we don't think about efficiency in our normal everyday lives. But it matters. It saves us a tremendous amount of time, so that when we can do things like this efficiently, say half the time, that's more time we have to do the things we enjoy. So yeah, I'm paying for bad decisions, or I don't want to say bad decisions. I don't think that's the right term. I'm paying for not having made better decisions when I was young. There we go. I like that. So that's part of what's slowing me down here. Okay, and the reason I didn't make those right decisions when I was young is I wanted to go hunting and fishing. I wanted to borrow the money to get that boat instead of saving up to pay cash for it. I wanted to borrow the money for the truck. All right, those bills, that interest. So I'm paying interest instead of making interest on money I've saved. Again, not as efficient. So yeah, that's now though. With all that said, it's getting tempting to take some shortcuts here, or not even shortcuts. Just not do everything I know I should do now to get this done and done right. It's tempting. But hopefully I learned that lesson when I was younger, and I'm going to put in the time now and make sure I do this right. And I'm working more efficiently now by doing these extra things. While I've got this out, I can get to that stuff easier. So maybe I have learned something. And if I go ahead and do all this right now, go ahead and put in the work now, get it over with, hopefully it's going to pay off. And then next spring I am going to be fishing and enjoying myself instead of working on stuff that needs repairs and broke down on me and so forth. And with any luck at all, I might get another 20 years out of this Tahoe. I know a lot of what I just said didn't make much sense to a lot of you, and that's okay. You will understand it one day. I assure you of that. You will understand it one day. I'm just hoping you understand it a lot earlier in your life than waiting forever to figure it out like I did. A great example of what I was trying to say also is this shop. Okay, this is my little small workshop. One of the best decisions I ever made in my life was building this shop. It made me more efficient. It's not big enough for me to get a vehicle in here and that type of thing, but still it's a place for me to keep my tools and work on things. And I built this way before I ever thought about making any YouTube video. All right. Well, now, today, I've got another channel that's actually becoming pretty successful. I never thought I'd be making YouTube videos, and now I've got a second channel here with this one. This shop has gave me a place to work on things and make videos. I never envisioned that. All right, and I can work on my things here in this little shop, so it's making me somewhat more efficient. One of the best decisions I've made building this shop. I just wish I'd have done it 20 years sooner. Okay, if I'd have done this when I was 20 years old instead of 40 something, where would I be at today? And that's what I'm getting at there. And I guess we'll wrap this one up with life is full of opportunities. It really is. You just have to put in the work to put yourself in a position so that you can take advantage of those opportunities when they come along. You can't get there by taking shortcuts. You got to make those tough decisions and put in the work, and the sooner you put in the work so that you've got that foundation to work from, like a good shop to work in on your cars and boats. Well, you need the shop before you ever get the car or the boat. It's more important. Anyway, that's just my thought. So I'm fixing to get back to work. I'm going to try to film this on what I end up with for this contraption for cleaning these fuel injectors, because this might be kind of interesting. Yeah, anyway, we're going to see what we can get done this week. And one thing about it, it should be right when I'm done, no matter how long it ends up taking. So we'll see. God bless, and y'all have a great evening.